Hi, I'm Jeevy. I'm going to be recording my voiceover for how I approach this work both for you and myself, because portrait painting's a weird one and I'm not really used to it, so I thought it'd be valuable to do this. So as you can see, I've blocked out the planes of the face. I've worked with quite sort of like relatively mid-tones here, just rather than getting into really dark colours really early on, except for that eyepiece, just because that is going to stand out. It is metal, so it's going to be much darker. Just blocking out where the light zones are as well, just to make it easier. And now I'm kind of going through adding cracks to the face, adding a little bit more detail to the side of the nose where it goes down into the cheek, and just kind of redefining the brow a little bit. Like I said, I'm not used to painting like this. I don't normally paint from values to colours. I'm normally a line art artist. So I draw the lines, I fill it in, nice and easy. I'm not used to working in a much more sort of like fluid setup, and you'll see me move around the piece quite a lot as I go. So as you can see, I've now blocked in just kind of the sides and the top of the head to show where they go back, and adding in the chin, trying to give him the reference had quite a wide chin, so I'm trying to emulate that. We've got the jacket in as well. Just painted it in dark and added some light to show where the light is obviously going to hit a very dark colour as well. With the sash, you'll have seen a flash of red as I was going, which is where I was just testing to make sure that the value was dark enough for it to show the red properly, because that's always the difficult part with working with reds. So going back, painting a little bit more into the eyepiece now. You'll have also seen I paint the head and the neck separate. I actually put those together again later on with the colours, adding in the epaulets. I just put a little bit of light to show just kind of the raised areas, particularly on those buttons, and adding in the cords. There are medals in the sketch. I forget about them until quite late on, and then I just paint them in because it made it a lot easier. I always paint the eye on top as well, and then what I use is that I use a clipping layer onto the white of the eye, just to make sure that the pupil's the right size, the right shape, it's in the right place. I don't want it too far over to any side. So I've also put in more shade to the side of the head to properly pull in the shape, and then brought his cheekbone out, just to make sure that's right, adding in some crow's feet as well. I add little bits of colour and I kind of blend, and like I said, I kind of jump around the scene a fair bit, because I try to make sure everything's kind of advancing at relatively the same speed. Add a little bit more darkness to the side of the head and the jaw, and then just softening it out, because I don't want him to be... He's not super hewn. He's, an older man. He's not like chiseled or anything, just making sure that they stand out. It's adding the shade without it being too aggressive, or bad without the eyebrows and the mustache. So yeah, just making sure that I can redo his eyebrow, because I wasn't happy with the shape of it before. I do also add in eyebrow to the other side where the skin is damaged, but I leave that till quite late on. Tried to do some wispies, but I wasn't pleased with them. They do actually get removed later. Working on the ear a little bit, and then adding a little bit more to the eye. Oh, there's the IKEA chair I was talking about. My current chair, which is a racing chair in comparison to the one that I had before, which seemed desperate to try kill me, because of those 5 wheels on that chair, 2 of them are missing, so if I stop balancing, it would throw me into the nearest bookcase. Yeah, you can see where I'm dissatisfied with the ear here. I went and actually got a reference to try get sort of just a better understanding of the angle, so I could repaint that, and obviously I just carve out the areas that are relevant and paint in the ones that are. So already looking much better. It's funny trying to add obviously sort of highlights to planes of the ears without it looking highlighted, but yeah, again using fairly like mid-tones just to kind of pull the shapes up without it being too strong. Pulling a little bit more under his cheekbone. There's a very dark shadow underneath his cheekbone that I think gets blurred out a little later on. Just smoothing out the shading on his forehead and adding the creases. I'm adding some particularly light zones along the sort of T-zone of his forehead and the sort of triangles of the inners of his cheeks. just to show where the light is, like, you know, hitting those particularly. Those will play a particular part when I put in the gradient map later on. That'll make more sense when we hit the gradients. You may see as we go on, there'll be colours that kind of flicker over the skin and such. That's just me messing with the gradient maps, making sure that things are kind of in the right areas for values and making sure that, you know, they're not all kind of the same. So yeah, just really defining that curve of his nose now into where it goes into sort of like the part of his cheek that goes down to the mouth. Yeah, just redefining the creases under his eyes as well. This is very much just a process of kind of noodling around and adding stuff as I go to make sure that it, you know, blends together, looks right, but isn't kind of an amorphous mess or anything. So I've changed his eyebrows, his mustache. I'm going in with his neck again. I actually changed this fairly drastically later on. Oh, yeah, we got the buttons, lovely. We got the colour, we got the light in them. Not the colour, black and white still. We don't get colours yet, we're not brave enough for that. Oh, and the other epaulette, I've just blocked in very simple sort of like braiding on all of these. And I go through a couple times, I add some darker areas and some lighter areas. I also do this later on with the colour where I apply like the lighting colour because I use blue for my light in this one. Yeah, just more braids. I quite enjoy like twists and braids. I think they're kind of fun. Just highlight the uppermost areas, let the rest of it kind of just like, you know, hang out with the dark, and it'll look pretty good because obviously you want that kind of like three-dimensional effect of where the light's hitting it. Yeah, just going down the braids now. At some point I will probably make at least a relatively simple tutorial, I suppose, for how I do my braids. My Twitch chat were asking me about it because I do it's a really easy one. You do a zigzag and then you interlock all the zones, and it makes it so much easier, and it gives you a really good shape as well. So yeah, just adding a little bit more onto that cording, and then the curves around the neck. So when I was doing the collar, I made sure to draw all the way around behind the neck when I was sketching this out to make sure that, you know, the shape of the cord is actually 3D, it follows where it should do, it comes down the other side. Otherwise they can get a little bit lost, particularly with angles. So just making sure that I do that, and then just doing the other cord. I don't remember if I put the little buttons in yet. Ah, here we go. This is me changing up the neck. So where I said normally I have the neck and the head sort of separated, I'm now painting down from the chin on the face to connect it into the neck. His jawline was a little too sharp, a little too sort of snatched, if you will. So I wanted to create a level of softness that was just kind of around his jaw and his upper neck, because obviously a little bit more suiting for an older man, that just makes more sense. So yeah, just providing a little bit more softness there. I do also then later on apply an underlight that hits that area, just because it does tend to get sort of bounce light there. Yeah, just adding in the wires on the eyepiece as well. Something I hadn't really worried about because it's just wires. The main part of the eyepiece was kind of the necessity, whereas the wires, they just kind of sit behind. They're just kind of extra detailing. Yeah, just adding in a little bit of light underneath his chin here, and then softening just that kind of edge of his chin just a touch. A little bit more light on his forehead. I did also at some point apply some moles or like liver spots onto his head. I put those back on later. They got painted out. That's just kind of a typical thing when you're working like this of, you know, you'll put in a detail, things have to change, you take them out, you put them back in again later, just try to remember to put them back in, basically. Otherwise you can forget, or I can forget anyway. I can forget anything. Just give me about 10 minutes. Yeah, I've added in some more spots. Oh, there we go, colours. just trying out some stuff, adding in light at the corner of his eye and on his nose, and then putting a overlay color of some purpley shades underneath his eyes. You have like temperature zones in the face. Oh, that was a shark with thigh highs that just popped up in reference to one of my Twitch chat. So yeah, jackets in. I've just put a fairly basic gold on and adding in the eyepiece as well. This is always a really funny thing of working with gradient maps and working from values, is that the colors are very, very, very sudden. And then you're kind of most the way there, and it's kind of just the tidy up. Whereas I'm so used to, you know, oh, I'm now on colors for like 10 hours. This is more of a, okay, we've gotten, you know, the bones of it, and now we, colors direct. But yeah, I've used quite bluey tones for the light. I was just testing out a red lens as well. Unfortunately, a touch too Eggman. Had to go without, adding in some hair into the ear as well. Just for no, you know, fun, older man. I feel like he should. I think it's just like a neat little detail. So I've used quite a blue light on this, and so I applied a red and blue multiply layer to the jacket. So it allows the lighter areas to be blue, and then you can kind of just see a slightly reddy tint in the darker zones, but it just adds a little bit more. Yeah, just applying that blue light on top of the braids and the twists as well, or the cords rather. So just using that at kind of the uppermost points. And yeah, I'll let this one play out. Thanks for joining me. I hope you guys have had fun and found it interesting while I've been working on this. I had a lot of fun. I don't really get to paint older men ever, really. So this was an interesting one. It was quite a learning curve, particularly with creating those shapes and trying to make sure that he looked, you know, he looked older, and also working with like a bold character is a really interesting one. But yeah, thanks for joining me. I put my stuff over on Twitch. Well, I record my stuff over on Twitch. Namely, it's where I hang out with people while I'm painting. So if you want to come on over, it's twitch.tv/chiefyarts. I'll put a link in the bio as well. Oh, there are the medals that I forgot. We got them now. Yeah. Thanks. Bye.